Episode 4 of The Queen Who Crowns begins with the Queen speaking to Taejo. At Taejo's request, the king arrives, but instead of a warm reception, Taejo accuses him of being nothing more than a puppet of the Min family, claiming he could never be a true ruler. Following this tense exchange, where the queen emerges as an obstacle to the king's legitimacy, the court lady schedules the royal consummation. During the process, the queen is instructed to fully submit to the king. Exploiting this, the king humiliates her by ordering the court lady to remain and observe. Enraged, the queen storms out of the chamber, prompting the king to resolve never to summon her again. The next day, while the queen practices her martial arts, she recalls a time when she and the king were equals and partners in crime. It is then that the king visits her, admonishing her to become a proper Joseon woman by staying indoors and abandoning her sword. Later, the queen's brother arrives with intelligence about a brewing rebellion. Taejo's close aide, Wonbeom, meets with an envoy at the queen's behest, which raises suspicions. The queen alerts the king, aided by Chairang, who reveals that one of Yeonsil's maids possessed an expensive ring, a reward for delivering a written oath to Sangwon from the rebel leaders. The king visits Sangwon and uncovers evidence of the rebellion. Meanwhile, the queen escorts Taejo to the palace at the king's request. On their way, they are ambushed by Wonbeom, who aims to capture Taejo. However, the queen's men counterattack, killing Wonbeom. Sangwon then arrives, declaring his decision to abandon any claim to the throne to end familial bloodshed. With this, Taejo voluntarily returns to the palace. Later, Sangwon and the king take a blood oath, forming an alliance. This forces the traitors to submit to the king. With the rebellion suppressed, the courtiers pressure the king to punish Yeonsil for her involvement. Both Yeonsil and the king realize that only the queen, as ruler of the internal court, can save Yeonsil's life. Yeonsil pleads for mercy, and the king appeals to the queen. Sensing her newfound power, the queen demands the king beg for Yeonsil's life. However, fueled by arrogance, the king stabs Yeonsil instead, defying the queen. The plot of The Queen Who Crowns continues to circle back to similar scenarios without significant progression, resulting in a somewhat bland and watered-down version of the intense political struggles typical of historical K-dramas. The show's cinematography also feels lackluster, with moments of poor CGI detracting from the experience. However, the show's strength lies in the dynamic between the king and queen, particularly how their current relationship starkly contrasts with their past before the coronation. That said, as the series began in medias res, much of the couple's backstory remains unexplored. Additionally, the show has a tendency to tell rather than show. For instance, the rebellion is primarily conveyed through dialogue rather than action, making the narrative feel tiresome at times.